When I turned 7, my life made a complete change. At the age of 4 years old, my parents decided to put me in a bilingual school where I could learn Spanish as my main language and English as my second language. I was at Liceo Internacional in Quito, Ecuador, and I learned English since I am 5 years old. 2 years later, my father was asked to go to France because of job issues. So that is when my life made a complete change. I went to Paris to begin my life and to turn the page of my life book. We all know that at the age of 7 we learn how to write and how to read, but normally in your main language. In my case, it was different. Since I already started to learn English and to read and write in Spanish, I already had those bases. That's the moment when I mixed up everything. I knew Spanish very well and I had a big progress in English, but that didn't work in France. I had to learn French to survive, so my parents decided to put me on a French school. Fortunately, it had a special class for those kids like me that didn't have a clue of the language. I struggled a lot, but it took me just 3 months to learn the language, and then they passed me to the class with French kids. That is an advantage to learn a language when we are young. Even if I knew the language, I reinforced it talking and socializing with French kids. To be honest, it wasn't that difficult. At the age of 8, I had my first English class in France. Hopefully, I remember that I had to learn before, so it wasn't a problem for me. The only problem was that I didn't know any of these three languages well. When I talked and wrote, I mixed words from each language. 2 years later, the France phase was over. My father was asked again to go to another country, so this time we went to Colombia. Bogota was a comfortable place, and we had the advantage to be close from Ecuador. We have almost the same culture and the same language, so this was something good for my mom, especially. She was the most excited with it because it was the chance for me to learn well Spanish, but it also brought a lot of to think about. I was 9 years old and I already dominated the French language, but my parents wanted me to learn my language, especially to write in Spanish. So they found the perfect solution. Liceo Francés Louis Pasteur. It was a bilingual school where I could continue with my French, straighten my Spanish, and learn the Latin American history. This helped me to build my origins. After 5 years there, my father was tired of being far from home, so he decided to quit his job. That's where the third phase begins, Ecuador. They had the same problem as in Bogota and they didn't know if they should put me in the French school and continue everything normally or to put me in my first school and continue with my English. I think they took the best decision and they put me in the Liceo Francés La Condamine. I was 15 years old and I think it would have been a mistake to change everything again. It was a smaller school, but it was very comfortable and we had this approach to nature that I hadn't in Colombia. We also had llamas at school. Imagine that. I graduated there with the Ecuadorian and French diploma. Because I had every class in French, I had the opportunity to pursue my career in France or to continue my education in Quito. It was very difficult to me because I love French culture and the French methodology to learn things. Even though I stood in Quito and entered to Universidad San Francisco de Quito. I was sad because I knew that staying here would mean to never talk French again. French language had helped me to learn many things. Even if I don't practice that much, it left a mark on me. I have the opportunity to know two languages as my main language, and this brought me many good things. Nowadays, I am applying to the French professor assistant to continue with the language and don't forget anything. And I am also giving classes to little kids that could need my help.